Hello, welcome to episode 71. So, you're probably wondering why there is no intro or outro or any of that good stuff, and that is because the couple of days before I was ready to publish or to record this episode, my hard drive decided to die, and so now I'm currently in the process of recovering that. Now, fortunately, I have a backup, and I keep all of my audio and video assets and things like that on a separate hard drive because it just makes my computer really slow. So my computer is actually currently downloading all my backups and things like that right now. So nothing was lost. It's just I wasn't able to record it or wasn't able to get everything downloaded before this week's episode went live. So bear with me on the spare intro this week, but got a lot of news this week. Really exciting things going on. So first off, I wanted to apologize for any of you who have tried to contact me through michaellaron.com over the last, maybe month or two. Some people let me know about some contact form issues on my site. So turns out the contact form just broke all of a sudden. I was kind of wondering why I wasn't getting any fan mail because I usually get fan mail like every day from people, and it just kind of stopped from michaellaron.com. And I just kind of thought, it's nice outside. It's summer. In some parts of the world, and maybe people are just kind of taking vacations and things like that. Well, no, it turns out that my contact form was broken. So that I believe I fixed it now. So if you haven't heard from me and you emailed me, it's usually very uncharacteristic of me not to get back to you within a couple of days, unless you're spamming me or you're trying to promote your book or things like that. I usually don't respond to those emails for obvious reasons. But if you've just sent me an email in good faith, please accept my humblest apologies and just send me another email, and I'd be more than happy to respond. So a lot of things going on. So this past week I was working on two books at once. So my editor sent back the edits for the mental model book, and that is done. I am pleased to tell you that is done, and I just got the cover back literally like 2 or 3 hours before I sat down to record this podcast. And so I've got the cover ready. I'm in the process of compiling the review copy. So for those of you who signed up for a review copy at authorlevelup.com/mentalmodelreviews, expect to hear from me. Well, you will have heard from me by the time that this goes live, so never mind. Scratch that comment. But so and then by the time that this goes live, the book should be live. So you can find that at authorlevelup.com/mentalmodels. And there should be a pretty cool sales page there for you with just some basic links. I can't promise that it'll be available for all retailers yet, but it should at least be available on Amazon. So for those of you who were intrigued by a lot of my mental model talks over the past month or two, now is your chance to grab the book. I'm really curious to see how this does because I'm going to release the encyclopedia next week, which we'll talk about that here in a second, but I'm just very curious to see how it does. This is one of those books that was purely a passion project. It was the book that I personally needed to write, so I'll just be curious to see what you guys think of it. So if you would love to support me, that would be fantastic. And that brings me to talk about the encyclopedia. So I had planned on publishing this a lot sooner, but things got in the way, and but it's ready now. I'm in the process of getting everything off to my cover designer. He should have the cover back to me by the weekend. So I plan on launching this next week. For those of you who would like to get review copies of the encyclopedia, just go to authorlevelup.com/encyclopedia reviews, and you can sign up to get your review copy of that. As soon as it goes live, I will send you a review copy of the book, and all I ask is that you read it with open mind, and if you find value in it, if you find that it's practical, just do me a favor and leave me a review on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever you buy your books, as that will help me spread the word and get the book into more people's hands. People tell me all the time that I provide practical advice and that I provide good advice. So if you feel that and you feel urged to read the book and get some value from it, I would love if you would to leave a review. So yeah, a lot of things happening. And I talked last week about how I was in the process of creating an Alexa flash briefing. So for those of you who have never heard of that, Amazon has the Amazon Echo devices, which are smart speakers, and they have a robotic assistant on them called Alexa. And essentially, she can do pretty much anything you ask her to do within certain limitations. And one of the cool features about Alexa is that she offers what's called flash briefings. So flash briefings are essentially very quick news updates. So NPR will give you a 1-minute update of the major news for the morning that you need to know. CNN can do the same thing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of this because almost no one is doing this right now. I'm going to create a flash briefing called Writing Tip of the Day. And so every morning, if you have an Amazon Echo or an Alexa, you can essentially get a writing tip of the day that will be essentially 1 to 2 minutes in length. And it just, as you're getting ready for work in the morning, as you're getting ready to go on your morning jog, you're getting ready for work, maybe walking out the door, making breakfast, you can get that update and it'll be practical writing tips in your speaker right away so you can start your day with some confidence. So that's going to be really cool. I'm excited about that. And that's not just going to be on the Amazon Echo, it will also be a podcast. So one of the deficiencies I think of Author Level Up over the past few years is that I haven't had an audio presence for it. I've really been focused primarily on video, which has been great and it has done a phenomenal job for me. But I really do think that I need to up my game and move into the audio space for Author Level Up. Just in light of a lot of the voice initiatives and the voice technologies coming out, I want to be able to play in that space, as well as really focusing on doing my own audiobooks. So more to come on that. That's going to go live, if I have my druthers, probably by the end of the week. I have a task out to a cover designer to design me a graphic that's going to work on podcast networks as well as the Alexa platform. So I should be getting that back. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so I should be getting that back on Wednesday. Assuming any back and forths and things like that, it should be ready by Thursday. I've actually taken an Amazon Alexa flash briefing course. Fancy that, if you would even imagine that exists. That's one of the coolest things about, I think, our digital world of publishing is that there's so many tools available, and all you have to do is ask for it, and it's probably out there. So a guy by the name of Terry Fisher runs a website called Alexa in Canada, I think. And it's not just for Canadians, but... Uh-oh. See, that's what happens when you have one of these smart speakers. If you say the word, you accidentally set it off. So I apologize in advance for any of you who happen to be next to a speaker who shall not be named. But yeah, so I kept saying the name and I was thinking the speaker might go off, but then it didn't. And so I just kept saying it and yeah, it backfired on me. So anyway, this course has been great. This website that I looked at, he's got some great resources on there, and he's really gung-ho on voice and just learned a lot of things from this course that I took from him. So I'm going to be implementing quite a few of those practices into my process. And so if you want to check that out, stay tuned to the episodes of The Writer's Journey. I will be sure to announce it on all of my podcast channels and YouTube presence and social media outposts when that goes live. And so I've got some other things that I'm working on right now that are kind of, things are kind of crazy for me. I'm working on a review video of, my writers will be interested in this. So I'm working on a review video of the program Campfire. And essentially what it is it is an outlining application that helps you keep your outline straight, but it also has a lot of practical applications. So for those of you who write very big series where you need to keep a Bible of all the characters and all the names and the places, and epic fantasy comes to mind. There's some science fiction space opera series that where maybe you're inviting other people to play in your space, and you just need to create this Bible so everyone's on the same page so that everyone knows what's canon and what's not. I essentially Campfire allows you to do that. So I am testing this app out. The developers reached out to me, and I saw some really practical applications for people who are outlining, but also for writers who write into the dark as well, surprisingly. So if you're writing into the dark and you're building an outline, some of the things that I talk about all the time on YouTube, and you're outlining, you're writing without an outline, but the process of doing that actually requires you to outline as you go. This actually can help you with that, and it can help you keep some things straight as opposed to just doing a straight two-dimensional Word doc or doc in Scrivener. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. I've had a few sponsored videos on the channel over the past month, and I did a a video on BookBrush, which is a service that's kind of like Canva but for writers. And my YouTube subscribers absolutely love that. And then I did another one on Mindomo, which is a mind mapping app that I think is one of the best apps that I've used in my career. Period. It's up there with Scrivener in terms of how practical it is, and in terms of the user interface and the functionality, and it's just one of those apps where the developers have just thought about everything. Like if you think, oh, how do I do this on the app? Chances are Mindomo will let you do it. So I've had a phenomenal experience with this app, and have built a really good relationship with the developers over there. So if you're interested in that, I'll drop a link to both of those apps in the the show notes so that you can check those out. And so lastly, what I wanted to leave you all with is something that I talked about on my social media channels over the past day or so, and I got a lot of response to it. And it's just simply this. I want to re-amplify the message here. You know, this is one of the greatest times in history to be a writer. Now, I'm sure that you've heard that before. That's not a shock, and some of you are probably like, okay, time to end the podcast now. But hear me out, right? So think about this. If for those of you who are writing and you're listening to this podcast, if you've published a book, you are in the 0.00001% of the population, not just the people who are living today, but of all the people who have ever lived in the history of humanity. Think about that for a second. You know, in the Middle Ages, if you wanted to write a book, you either could just dream about it. It probably wasn't even in your mind because you were probably doing manual labor. But if you wanted to write a book, you had to be a theologian, or you had to be a monk, and you had to be someone who had the ability to scribe, and you had to be able to read and write. I mean, these were fundamental things that we take for granted today that were not available in the Middle Ages, and were not available in many parts of the world many, many years ago. And so if you wanted to be a writer in the 1800s, for example, you had to have some relationships, and you had to have some contacts, and you had to have a certain social standing, or it would not have been a reality for you, right? And literacy was still a problem, something that many people were not able to exercise, right? If you wanted to be a writer in the 1950s, you had to get a traditional publisher. That was the only way to do it. And to get a traditional publisher, you had to follow those channels. And if you were a person of color, or if you were a woman, your chances of getting published by a traditional publisher were a lot harder back then. Not impossible, but a lot harder, right? And so if you wanted to be a writer in the year 2000, you still had to go through the traditional gatekeepers. If you want to be a writer today, all you have to do is write your book, get it edited, get a good cover designer, and upload it on Amazon. It is that simple. It doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what your economic background is, what your socioeconomic background is, what your sexual orientation is, what the color of your skin is. You have the ability to spread your message today, tomorrow. That is one of the coolest things I can think of and ever, right? I think about my great-grandfather, and my great-grandfather was an incredible man. He was born in 1909, and he was born in the era of horse and buggies. When he was born in Mississippi, and Jim Crow reigned supreme. People drove horses and buggies. There was no such thing as a car. He didn't know what a car was until he moved to St. Louis, right, and was among the city. And then at the end of his life in 2003, I just think about seeing horses and buggies, and then being at the end of your life and seeing airplanes, and seeing technology, and seeing computers, and seeing how far society had come, right? And I think a lot about what he would have thought about desktop publishing and self-publishing, and how it has transformed people's lives all over the world. And so I want you to think now the fact that I'm 32 as I record this. I was born in an era before computers really were mainstream. I didn't get my first computer until I was 7 or 8. So I remember what it was like before computers, right? And I look at my life now and how convenient technology has made life, period. Right? You name it, you want it. I talked about this Alexa course. I went out and got that. Okay, good. She didn't go off. Talk about that course for the app that shall not be named. And I was able to go get that in like 10 seconds, right? This is the best time in the world in history to be a writer. 10 years ago, you would have had to go through gatekeepers. 10 years from now, I think the people that are publishing books are going to look back and say, man, dang, I wish I had published my first book in like 2012. I really think they're going to say that because I think that more people are going to start publishing content. It's going to be harder to get discovered. It's harder now than it was 10 years ago, but it's going to be even harder. And so I just want you to take some time and think about that and think about how fortunate we all are in this society, in this day and age, despite what our problems are, because I think we all have our problems. We've all got problems that we're dealing with, and that's not to diminish the issues that we face, right? But just to put things into perspective, how many people would have killed to make a bargain with God and say, God, I really appreciate that I'm being born today, but I would love if you would just, maybe put that timer about 10 minutes or 10 years into the future so I can be born in 2012 or wait, whatever that would be, to where I could publish in 2012. I'm not going to do math today. But I guess I thought about that a lot this week. Just as I'm exploring this new technology and finding ways that I can spread my message and bring value to people's lives and impact them in other ways and in more ways. That's just something that brings me a lot of joy. And the reason I was so messed up, or not messed up, but so upset over my contact form issue earlier this week is because it's one of my favorite parts of this job is to get emails from you guys talking about how my videos have impacted you, or how something that I said that I probably didn't even think about inspired you to go off and publish a book that made you a lot of money, or inspired you to take a different mindset or a different approach to the writing life that paid off dividends for you. And that just brings me a lot of joy. And so I want to bring that to you guys, and I want you all to use your platform and to use your gifts to spread your message and bring joy to other people as well. So those are some things that have been on my mind. I hope that all of you have a phenomenal weekend. Don't forget, and I've been saying this on my social media channels, this is what author Dean Wesley Smith calls the time of great forgetting. It's summer's happening in one half of the world. It's really nice outside. People are going on vacations. They're going on holiday. And, writing just falls by the wayside. People forget to do it, and they wake up in September and they realize, oh crap, I got nothing done between May and September, and suddenly they're in a scramble to get things done by the end of the year. Don't be one of those people. Just slowly start building your momentum, figure out a plan on how you're going to get through the summer without not having written any words. That was a weird phrase. Get through the summer with having written something. Just get through the summer, right? Be aware of the time of great forgetting, because I can tell you that it is very real, and it is happening to many, many writers as we speak. Some of the truest words that Dean has ever spoken. So with that, I'm going to sign off for this week, and I will holler at you next time.